Welcome to Celebrating Everyday People, where we recognize those amazing people doing amazing work out there. My name is Jana Larson. Today, my co-host is Brigitte Van Ely of our arts segment, which we do once a month. You can find us on Celebrating Everyday People on our page on Facebook and on Buzzsprout and beyond as we enhance our online presence. Brigitte, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jana, for the introduction. And joining us today is Nina Streich, founder of the Global Peace Film Festival, launched in 2003 in response to the Iraq War. With a background in film and media, Nina began her career as a film editor, cutting trailers for major studio and independent films, while also maintaining a lifelong commitment to activism. We get to that in a second. She served as the media coordinator for the historic June 12, 1982 nuclear disarmament rally in New York City, and later became the deputy and then acting film commissioner for the city of New York during the Dinkins administration. So for more than 20 years, the Global Peace Film Festival has been a home for stories that do more than document conflict, reminding us what humanity is capable of and spotlighting films that model peace and possibilities. And so today we hear from and about Nina's personal journey, who she is and what motivates her. We'll talk about the power of film as a catalyst for peace and social change, and obviously the main center here about the Global Peace Film Festival that we founded in 2003. So Nina, it is an absolute joy and privilege to welcome you here and have this conversation with you today. So maybe you would like to start about your personal journey. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's wonderful to be here with you, Birgit and Jana. It's really nice to see you, and I'm excited about being with you for celebrating everyday people. I think the way I want to start is what my initial inspiration was when I was really, really young. I mean, like 11, 12 years old, somebody who I've described as my lifelong mentor. I mean, unfortunately, he passed away. He passed away before the Global Peace Film Festival started. But he was a writer who was blacklisted in the McCarthy era. And he told me when I was probably 12 years old, he said that movies can change the world. And he would tell me about his time on the blacklist and how he used fronts to write. He would write, and he had a dentist who would take his scripts to the producers who would buy his scripts with the names of the name of the dentist on them, and pay the dentist, and he would pay. The dentist would take his cut and pay. His name was Millard Lampell, but his telling me that a film could change the world was my inspiration, and it's not exactly how my career path and my life path has not been what I envisioned it to be when I was 12 years old. But everything I've done sort of reflects that and follows through on that. And using creative media as a catalyst for change and as a catalyst for inspiring people to do things in their own lives and in their communities that help people, that help the world, that help their communities, whatever that happens to be. That's been a driving force in my life.
So you were
That's
I'm sorry. So you were recognizing everyday people yourself back at a early age and helping bring them in to the movement.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, I didn't get it. I wasn't. My career didn't start in media for activism. I started out as an apprentice film editor, carrying film cans I grew up in England, so I started in my vacation, in my school holidays, my vacations, I would work for this in this cutting room, and I would carry cans through Soho in London. And by the time I graduated from university, I was a trained assistant editor. So I went in that way. And then when I moved to the United States, a lot of anti-nuclear activism was going on, and I would, on my weekends, evenings and weekends, I would go and volunteer for to help set up demonstrations. And I ended up doing the media side of things, sort of sending out press releases, calling the media, telling them where they could, setting them up when, at demonstrations. And then that led eventually to the June 12th disarmament rally in 1982, which was one of the biggest, well, at the time, the biggest peacetime peace rally in history, in U.S. history.
Didn't you also didn't you produce a film,
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, the film is called In Our Hands, and it was an entirely volunteer effort until post-production, which of course is very, very labor intensive. And basically, I was the media coordinator for the demonstration, and at, when when things started, after the announcement of the demonstration, the most of the media that was contacting the office were independent film documentary crews, and they all wanted access to the stage to film the rally. And I knew that if I said yes to everybody, then if the networks wanted to come, they'd be crowded out by independent media. So I had this idea to create a pooling arrangement, and have one of the independent documentarians, a guy named Bob Richter, who unfortunately passed away last year, but at the age of 95. Amazing man, amazing documentarian. Um, uh, and he coordinated among people. And we were looking at all kinds of opportunities because a lot of major rock and roll artists and film stars wanted to be involved. I was negotiating with places like HBO and to televise the rally. And when those negotiations fell through for all kinds of reasons, we decided, because we had this organized structure, we decided to turn it into a documentary. And Bob thought that he had been in touch with maybe 15 different cinematographers who were planning to come. And the night before the rally, he'd made T-shirts, June 12th Film Crew T-shirts, and he had enough for 16 crews. And at that meeting that was supposed to be in his office, over 30 film crews showed up. And by the time the film went into, after the rally, when film was coming in, I think it was I think it was over 40 different sets of, film, sets of film and sound came in. And this was all volunteer effort.
Incredible.
So,
That's incredible.
So the film is available on various streaming platforms. It's called In Our Hands, and it's it's a lovely document of that day and the days leading up, and the there was civil disobedience on the Monday after the rally, so it covers the whole scope of the events of that week.
Yeah. So
You
from
must
90 from go ahead. Jana, want to
I
say? Yeah.
was going to say you've probably met a whole lot of interesting people, very famous people who are also involved in the peace business.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm always compelled by the organizers.
Yes.
I think it's
And I would,
and the celebrities, you know, it's great to have their voices, and they are compassionate, wonderful people. And you know, I mean, right now, you know, just listen to the song that Bruce Springsteen just
mhm.
released
Yeah,
the
I
day
just heard
before
it this
yesterday.
morning and shared it. It's really,
Well,
really
it's
dreadful.
beautiful, powerful, and important, and that is a motivator. But it takes the invisible organizers to
Yes,
um, you know, to make it happen.
exactly.
Absolutely, but it's always like this. It's many, many fields. It's like that. That the those who are behind the curtain are those that that create the whatever we see on stage,
Okay,
and
and
it's
I know
true. But
all
that's
about
but me,
that.
we all. But I was just about to say, Nina knows all about that, and I think that's why we are here today to hear her voice and bring Nina on the
Mhm.
screen and talk about
Yes.
her life and also her child, the Global Peace Film Festival. So I don't know if you want to still recap the years between 1982 to 2003, to tell us that that leads up to the launching of the film festival. Maybe you can say a few words, and then we just pivot to the film festival and talk more about your work with the Global Peace Film Festival.
Well, I think you pretty much covered it in your introduction.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So,
because we don't want to, I don't want to yammer on.
no, absolutely. No, absolutely. So
Let's
you want
just
to,
jump to
so
the
let's then
festival.
let's
Jump to the festival.
yeah, so let's do that. Let's tell us about the film festival, the launch, and what also happened in these past 20 years since it was launched, 23.
Yeah, this is
And
planning the 24th year now.
yeah,
Well, I'd
so
also like to hear just how she's feeling about the current times,
Oh,
how you're coping with everything, and what do you do to help keep yourself engaged and uplifted, and keep doing it.
but
I
I think yeah, go ahead.
That's such an important question, Yana. I'm really finding this a really, really, really hard time, like so many people are. And it's so important to, you know, to keep engaging, to keep acting today. You know, we're recording this on the 30th of January, which is the national strike. And
Hmm.
I'm not doing it. I'm not shopping. I'm This is the only work thing I'm doing today. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm unfortunately I'm not going out because it's just too cold.
Yes, it is.
Which fortunately or unfortunately, but you know, that's one thing. Watching the people of Minneapolis is so inspiring, and that's giving me hope. Um, and it it's a really hard time, and we have to support each other. We have to, you know, I think it's really important to just keep our heads up, keep coming out. I've been going to demonstrations
Hmm.
in, you know, in New York City. I have not gone to the court where the hearings are taking place and people are being ripped away from their families, um, because I wouldn't go without being trained, and I haven't had the training to you know, to be a helpful watcher. I'm thinking of doing that, um, because there's nothing is, everything we do is really important, and nothing is too much. I mean, you have
Or
just
too little. Exactly. That's why I'm trying to find ways that I can be engaged without having to go out in it because I am disabled and I can only do so much. I can't run anymore. And
But
um
can I bring this back to the film festival? So because I
oh,
think
sure.
that might be a
That's
tool actually to talk. I mean, no, listen, it's very, very important to talk about the present time, and but maybe we can put this in the context of your work again, of what you're doing with the Global Peace Film Festival, because the Global Peace Film Festival, if I remember correctly, it's not about necessarily showing stories of war, but what we can do in order to create a better world. And
yeah,
coming back to what we just touched upon, the present
yeah.
situation, you can maybe even talk a little bit about these film festival, the Peace Global Peace Film Festival that happens every year.
Well,
Is are there thematically are there is it geared to, let's say, if the new one is coming up, is it geared to the presence, or how are films selected? And maybe you can talk about that,
okay.
even in the context of politics
Well,
today.
let me just give a little background that the festival takes place. We have anchored the date of the festival around the International Day of Peace, which is September 21st.
Mm.
So it takes place, the live event takes place in Orlando, Florida, or in that area. Um, and we welcome anybody who wants to travel down. We have hotel deals for discounts for hotels which are in the area that the festival is in. They're they're less expensive than a lot of places anyway. So we hope people will come down. Um, but if you count the week between, we have two weekends of screenings. It starts on a Tuesday, runs through Saturday the first week, and
Mm.
then runs Saturday and Sunday the following week. So it's the 15th to the 19th, then the 26th and 27th of September. Um, in the week between, from September 21st, the International Day of Peace, through the 27th, we have an online, what we call our Free for All Shorts program, which is available worldwide to viewers. And it's mainly short films that we show. Last year, I think we had 34 short films in the online festival. And it's really easy. It's on our website. The website is peacefilmfest.org, and it's not there now. It'll be there much closer to September. Um, uh, and anybody can watch from anywhere for that week. As soon as the week is over, the films are no longer available. But a, a lot of what's going on, there may be, one or two short films may have come up in this short amount of time. More likely, the protest films about what's happening now in the United States will come in more like next year because it takes a while to make the films.
Yeah.
So one of the things that has separated Global Peace Film Festival from other like human rights festivals or things like that, is we look for films, not everything, but we really look for films that have models of things that people are doing around the world that can be replicated in your community or the community where we're showing the films. Or, so the Free for All Shorts, for instance, a lot of the short films that we show are actually advocacy films from organizations. And in the in-person festival, we the way we select our films is looking at the community in Central Florida and what are the issues that people are working on there, and how do we make a match between those two things. I want to give an example of a film that we had years ago. Um, uh, the title was Overpass Light Brigade, and it was a short film that accompanied a longer film by the same filmmakers. We brought both of the films. The Overpass Light Brigade was an artist's action, and it was in I think it was actually in Minnesota that that this action happened. But these artists got Christmas lights and made them into signs when they were, whatever the issue they were protesting was, and they stood on overpasses with their lights that cars would see going by. Very simple message. Um, and when we showed it in Orlando, there was a ballot amendment that some of the people coming to the festival were working on. It was like no on four or something like that. And they replicated that. They came up with their own light boards with Christmas lights on overpasses saying no on four. They're still doing those overpass light things. And that was showing a film in the festival and somebody taking the inspiration from it and replicating it. So we look for films like that. That's a really, really simple one.
It's a beautiful example, actually,
Yeah.
how film
Actually,
can
I should make
change
it say,
conversation, impact, and create a chain of replications, as you
Right.
said, that changes the world. That's a fantastic example.
I just
Jana, you want to say something?
our time is about up, so I wanted
It's so
to
quick.
see if Nina wanted to give any information about how people could find out more. I know you mentioned the website, but do you have other contact ways? And
So,
we'll, of course, do that with our social media.
yeah, my email address is nina@peacefilmfest.org. The website for the organization is peacefilmfest.org. And um, feel free to write. We're accepting submissions for the festival. If you know a filmmaker who might have a film that would be appropriate for it, we're accepting submissions now through the beginning. I think it's the beginning of June. Um, we're still in the early stage, so the submission fee, there is a fee to submit your film, but it's a relatively small fee, and it's definitely small compared to a lot to most film festivals. Um, and we receive a couple hundred submissions every year, so we have to wade through them. We don't have a lot of space in the actual festival. Um, uh, Last year we only had 23 films in the September festival, but then we had the 34 short films in the Free for All Shorts. So that's how you can contact me and see more about the event. I mean, on the website now, there's not that much about the film festival because it's way, way early. Find information about submitting films, but not about the event itself. We will soon have information about hotels if anybody wants to come down.
Have Brigitte get me all the information so that we can
Yeah, I
include
can
it.
get, and I know
All
we
the,
have to end here, but I wanted to say something just very, very quickly, because one thing I would love to talk about, maybe in another session, is about the power of film and how film can really be a tool for peace, a tool for transformation, what impact it has on an audience and on our activism. So we got now a broad idea of what you're doing and how how important it is. But I would love to talk about the more of the internal specifics for our audience to understand of the impact of film. And that's so I hope we can do this one day. But thank you so much really for joining us here and for joining us in celebrating everyday people, and for reminding us how important film is, and the moral dimensions films have, in your context for good, to create transformation, to have this impact on our audience. Nina, you want to say a few last words, or Jana, do you want to conclude?
that's part of my job. Thank you for Brigitte for bringing Nina to our attention. It was very wonderful to hear from you, Nina, and of course, Brigitte. You always You always know a lot of things. So great. We hope you have enjoyed our show. If you have any questions or comments, please send us a message at malcolmpresents@gmail.com. Remember, you can find us at malcolmpresents.com and YouTube, and Celebrating Everyday People on Facebook and Buzzsprout. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.